You place a person on a pedestal or turn a blind eye to their rough edges, and then you wonder, why are you seen differently than you want? This is not a coincidence or a mistake of fate. It is the result of the roles you have allowed others to impose on you. I will show you where control is lost and how to regain your face. Have you ever felt an inner fatigue from constantly adjusting to expectations? At work, in relationships, in a circle of friends? At first, these are microscopic gestures, giving way to others, smiling insincerely, hiding your opinion. Over weeks and months, these little concessions accumulate into a habitual role, and the people around you start to react not to who you really are, but to the version of you that you present. This brings anxiety. I am not seen. I am misunderstood. I must remain this way to not lose relationships. This is not always malice on the part of others. More often it is the effect of projections, habits, and convenience. But it is this that destroys the feeling of inner integrity. When you are seen through the role you play, the simplest things start to jump. Respect turns into awe, recognition into expectations, and sincerity into a commodity that can be taken or left. This creates a chronic feeling of self-deficiency. You work more, try to be better, but inside it gets tighter and tighter. Understanding this mechanism is the first step to stop wearing masks that make you invisible. The rest of the video will have simple logic and concrete examples that will help you see where exactly you began to relinquish the right to be yourself and how to regain it back without drama and sudden breaks. If it seems now that personality is something imposed by circumstances, it is important to understand. The degree of your visible I is not a final verdict. Behind this visible version, there always remains a field of choice. You can continue to meet others' expectations. You can carefully reshape boundaries, or you can learn to manage your image so that it serves your goals, not the convenience of others. It is important not to let others' projections define your worth. This is what the next part will be dedicated to, an analysis of mechanisms and practical points of support. Right now, the moment is particularly sensitive. Social media, work, personal relationships, and the fast pace of life make the visible version of a person hyperactive. This means that the reactions of those around you appear instantly and often become your mirror, even if the mirror is not close to the true self. For many, this turns into a trap. Energy and a sense of direction are consumed. That is why the topic of self-perception is important right now. If you don't learn to manage how you're seen, you will waste time maintaining an image instead of building a real life. What you will get next is not a set of abstract settings, but an understanding of specific points where control over your image is lost and ways to regain it. By the end of the video, you will be able to identify one, and only one, habit that is currently distorting your perception in the eyes of others, and you will receive a simple action plan to start changing it today. The conversation map will be short and practical. We will analyze why others' expectations are formed and what to do with them, then demonstrate effective techniques that can be applied without drama, and finally summarize everything with clear criteria that truly show results. One thought that is rarely spoken aloud, but needs to be accepted. Self-perception is not fixed from the outside. It can be consciously constructed. This does not mean masking or falsehood. On the contrary, it is about adjusting behavior, language, and boundaries so that the external image begins to reflect internal integrity. This idea is a new thesis compared to the hook. Whereas before it was about others imposing perception, Now it is important to understand that there are tools through which you can change this perception to your advantage. It is also important to note, changes do not require an immediate revolution. You can start with a small step. Formulate your opinion in 3 phrases without adjusting, or define boundaries with one clear action. Such small adjustments provide feedback and restore a sense of control. Next will be the practical part, with examples of dialogues and reality checks that will help reinforce the new behavior pattern. It is not about external victory, but about becoming the person whose perception you define yourself. When you are seen differently than you are, it rarely happens suddenly. Behind every incorrect impression are 3 simple mechanisms that operate simultaneously and almost unnoticed: narrowing attention, past templates, and reward for predictability. People have little time and energy, so they simplify the complex image of a person to a few noticeable traits: a manner of laughter, a habit of yielding, a tendency to be silent. These noticeable signals become markers and begin to manage expectations. A person who rarely says no is labeled as easily manageable. One who often jokes turns out to be shallow, and one who always agrees becomes a calm ally. This is neither evil nor a conspiracy, just the operation of the human economy of attention. Accumulated perception is reinforced by a habit that you subconsciously develop. Small concessions once seem harmless, but they provide immediate reward, a decrease in conflict, approval, relief. Over time, others begin to react not to you, but to the strategy you have chosen to reduce friction. Ultimately, your behavior becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You are seen that way because you have already begun to behave predictably. The hidden trap here is that people confuse role with personality and demand conformity, not because it is easier for them, but because it is simpler for them to understand the world. A typical mistake almost everyone makes is trying to fight the symptom instead of the mechanism. You notice that you are underestimated, and you begin to amplify public signals, assert your competence louder, confirm your significance. Louder. Talk more about your achievements. This is like repainting the facade of an old house. The effect is visible at first, but the foundation remains unchanged. If you still quickly agree in personal situations or quietly remove responsibility from yourself, your new signals will contradict the usual pattern. People tend to trust established patterns. Inconsistency breeds distrust or relegates you to the category of insincere. I call this mistake noise compensation, being louder about yourself instead of changing those micro habits that form the foundation of your image. The new perspective that helps break out of this trap is simple in form, but requires attention in content. Perception is not only what you say loudly, but also a set of small signals that confirm your role. When changing the system, it is important not to shout, but to restructure the patterns of confirmation. This is not about a mask. It is about aligning small gestures with what you wish to convey. When the same message is consistently confirmed by behavior, reactions, and boundaries, people update their internal representation of you. If you want to be seen as decisive, it is not only important to make a bold statement in a meeting, but also to have the habit of refusing when proposals violate your priorities. If you want to be seen as a person of principles, it is not enough to post about it. This is confirmed by a consistent line of behavior in repeated small matters. To understand this in real life, imagine a team where one person always agrees to take on extra work and takes over dubious parts of others' tasks. Initially, colleagues thank and use this resource, then take it for granted. Now this is the role of the one who finishes up. When this same person unexpectedly refuses and suggests redistributing tasks, the reaction will be mixed: surprise, irritation, attempts to revert to the old habit. Here it is clear that changing one's image requires patience and consistency. Old expectations do not disappear in a day. Another example is the internal dialogue from a family situation. You are sitting at the table, and a topic arises in which your views differ from the majority. A thought runs through your head: if I speak up, there will be an argument, and I will once again appear to be the one disrupting the peace. You remain silent. This decision is a small tile on which the role of the peacemaker is being prepared. If you suddenly stand up and assertively say everything a year later, it will be perceived as an exception, not a new norm. The inner voice that chooses silence for the first time for the sake of peace solidifies the strategy, and it shapes the external image. The result of this understanding is not a guide to dramatic changes, but a map of places where you need to stop confirming old expectations. By changing behavior at the level of signals, you gently but reliably change people's model of you. This is not about winning over someone. It is about returning the right to be seen as you wish. And it is important to remember, the first changes almost always encounter resistance. This is normal. People get used to roles slowly, but if you are consistent, their model of you will update and start reflecting more realistically than before. Imagine a work meeting where you regularly agree to take on extra tasks. Without awareness, you smile, say, "Okay, I will do it," and immediately return to your usual rhythm. Colleagues perceive this as normal. They see you as a person who is always ready to back them up, and over time, the requests increase. Inside, you accumulate fatigue, lose a sense of control over priorities, while outwardly the role solidifies. Gratitude lasts briefly, expectations grow, and any firmer word from you is perceived as a surprise or rejection of the team. Now the same scene, but you apply the principle of consistency of signals. At the moment when the next request comes, you respond in a way that one small action aligns with the image you truly want to project. You don't make a spectacle out of it. You briefly state your position and do exactly what you said. It could be one sentence that changes the sequence of confirming signals, and not so much a loud statement as a change in your habitual reaction. Initially, the team's reaction may be surprised or sharp. Old expectations cling to the previous model. But if you maintain the same behavior over and over again, people's internal representations gradually restructure from the one who finishes tasks to the one who allocates responsibility. The difference is evident in two indicators: your energy level and the way tasks are distributed. When micro-habits reinforce a new line, external expectations stop pressing because people don't have to compensate for your previous behavior. This is not about drama or sudden changes. It's about choosing one consistent signal and its prolonged confirmation. After a few repetitions, you will see that questions and requests are formulated differently. Conflicts become more constructive, and your work takes a place that corresponds to your priorities. It is this before and after that shows how reality changes when the trivial stops reinforcing the old role. 3 thoughts to keep to yourself. Perception is a construct, not a verdict. Small signals are more important than individual loud statements. Change requires consistency, not episodes of heroism. They are interconnected. You manage your image through repeated micro-actions, and it is the consistency that makes the image reliable in the eyes of others. This alleviates the tension of trying to prove your worth and redirects energy into clear work on priorities. When you stop perceiving other people's expectations as inevitabilities, you gain a simple tool: the choice of appropriate confirming signals. It does not negate difficult conversations and does not guarantee instant sympathy, but it provides real savings of internal energy and clarity in relationships. The habit of repeating the same line of behavior changes not the external facade, but the model through which people read you. This means that the result is not only that you start to be seen differently, but also that you yourself adapt less to other people's projections. An observation to remember: people change their internal representation of you when external signals become consistent faster than they can cling to the old ones. If this video was useful to you, subscribe so you don't miss the next time.